Hello, welcome to the Below the Trees podcast. We got a great show to you. I have a question. Are you where you want to be right now? Whether it's in your career, whether it's in your life, your personal life, your relationships, are you where you want to be? Because sometimes, and if we're honest with ourselves, we're not. So that's the type of questions that we get into today. If you experience rejection in your life, whether it's in work or in those relationships, how do you respond to that? And that's what we're here to discuss, John. This is the Below the Trees podcast. Do all the normal YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for indulging us with your time. See you on the other side. We just read some things, so I'm going to put this out there. The Below the Trees podcast. We made two separate videos, and each of those videos are going to have a wealth of wisdom from those who I think did it best. So see the link in the description. It's going to be guiding a lot of our conversation tonight. But on that note, John, how the hell are you, buddy?
Chilling,
Jesus. Can't speak tonight.
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. The week's been all right up to this point. We had practice today. Diablo's practice. How did that go?
Pretty bad.
It was rough. It was rough to say the least.
I had a good practice.
I really enjoyed my time. I thought it was a lot of fun being out there and just doing our thing, man. It was a good time. I can't hit the ball for shit, but I can run, and that's like 90% of any sport. Forrest Gump, he'd probably be pretty good at any sport. Just 90% there about being, a good runner.
Hand-eye coordination is actually quite important, bro.
Well, I mean, okay, I said 90%. I didn't say the full 100. Hand-eye coordinations, that's the extra 10% you need to have the recipe for being pretty decent and athletic. But man, it was rough to see nobody catching the ball. I missed one ball, so I'll own up to that. And one ball got over my head because I didn't position myself appropriately. But no ball after that got past me, damn it. And as a matter of fact, I actually helped the team after that. I would back him up when the third baseman, bless his soul, didn't get the ball. And so on. So it was fun. A lot of lessons in baseball. Lessons that these kids aren't learning yet. But I like them. It's a good group of guys, good kids. Just different situation. Anyways, I thought I'd open up with something a little bit different tonight, John.
Please.
I want to tell a joke.
Okay.
That'd be all right?
Please. I'm gonna open up some beers.
Okay. So I'll be very upfront. I'm not the funniest guy on the block. I think I'm probably funnier than I am, as most people do. Anyways, I heard a joke this week, and I thought I'd share it on the pod. And I thought it was a pretty damn good joke. It's one of them street jokes, not original. It's an old-timey street joke. A really good one, actually. So, guy walks into a bar, right? He's got a suitcase in hand. Puts the suitcase top of the bar, opens it up, and there's a 9-inch pianist in there. And the bartender goes, "Oh, that's cool. That little guy can really play the keys." And the guy goes, "Yeah, he's pretty good. Not gonna lie." The bartender asks the guy, he says, "Well, how did you get that?" Bartender goes, the guy goes, "Well, I wished for it. Wished from a genie." So he asked the bartender, he was like, "Do you want to make a wish?" Bartender kind of thought about it real quick. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? What the hell not? I'm going to make a wish from this genie. So he tells the guy, "Yeah, I'll make a wish."
What do you wish for?
The guy says, "I wish for $1 million." Pretty typical. The genie granted him $1 million. And the guy's like, the bartender, he's like, "Man, what the hell? that genie has a hard time hearing? And the guy goes to me, you're telling me you think I wish for a 9-inch pianist?
Right.
Because he wished for a 9-inch penis.
Thank you, Brian.
Just to clarify that. But I heard that joke this week, and I thought I'd try something new on the pod and tell a shitty joke. But yeah, it's good times, man. How was your weekend?
Pitched on Sunday. Pitching was okay. And then Friday, we got a new car in the fleet.
Fleet of cars.
Saturday, just kind of figuring out what's wrong with it. And
there are things wrong with it.
Oh, I knew that from the start.
Oh, no, I'm kind of formulating the question. There are things wrong with it? Question mark?
So far minor. And we'll address what we hope to be.
Adapt, overcome, and survive.
Solely minor issues. And we shall find out. Oddly enough, there was a praying mantis that kind of made its way from purchasing it, taking it through the car wash. I wanted to see if there were any leaks. There are.
Full disclosure.
And then also seeing, how it would react to the shine, the paint, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that fucking thing still made it, dude. This praying mantis, this albino-looking praying mantis.
Oh, shit.
Because he's white as all hell.
A white praying mantis?
Yeah, he's
I've never seen anything.
Not green. And yeah, I tried. I was like, dude, you're not gonna survive here. Like,
go on, brother.
Yeah,
get out of here while you still can.
I picked him up and I let him go somewhere else.
Nice.
Hopefully
I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He travels a great distance.
Yeah, really.
Oh yeah.
And in Mexico, praying mantises are considered good luck charms.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that. I feel like I've heard that before.
Right. So, I've seen one when I was in Mazatlan, Mexico, and then now seeing another one after purchasing this thing that came along with the car for the ride. Solid 30-40 mile drive.
Jeez. That's the greatest distance. His family back home was like, wow, he's off to bigger, better things now.
And apparently the story to the car is, the uncle, the brother of this kid's father, passed away during, the jab season. And, it was originally black. Then they had repainted it red. And then it's black again. And that was like the last couple things that he did to it.
Oh, wow.
And the father couldn't continue driving it because it would just drive him to tears.
Yeah.
And the nephew for sure blew the clutch, and that's why he needed to sell it and didn't know what was wrong with it, but it's just a burnt clutch.
Okay.
And that became apparent
driving it
immediately. I was like, we're on the last legs here. So that was the weekend.
Nice, man. And thinking about that praying mantis, it reminded me of an interesting factoid.
Let's go shoot.
I read this week. So, during World War II, it was not uncommon that soldiers deserted.
Soldiers are what now?
Deserted.
Oh, no.
And I'm not talking about eating dessert on the job. I'm talking about full-on leave the military service.
Wow.
And we got to give credit to where credit is, right? World War II, the Great Wars, right? These are any war, really. We're asking people to do impossible things, to see the worst side of humanity, right? So, our veterans out there, it's Veterans Day was yesterday. So thank you all for your service. We appreciate it. Really, really proud of our veterans. And, but anyways, imagine having to go to war and seeing some brutal shit.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of, there has to be some sort of calculation when these generals make up these plans to send the kids out to battlefield. There's going to be some desertion. Some of these people are going to leave.
Sure.
Sheer terror. When World War II is something like 50,000 U.S. soldiers out of the 16 million that served deserted. It's a pretty low number, right? Actually, percentage-wise.
Math.
But out of that 50,000 of the deserters, 50 people, or 49 or 50 were sentenced to executions.
Wow.
However,
made examples of.
Now, to be clear, this execution was only for the purpose of they were only charged with deserting the military.
Okay.
Out of the 49 or 50 people that had got sentenced to that, only one was executed by firing squad.
Oh, shit. Firing squad.
Yeah, pretty fucking brutal. And I didn't know this. So in the firing
What state?
Squad, he was from Michigan, but he was executed in France, I believe.
Napoleon for the win.
Yep, he was executed in France. He was from Dearborn, Michigan. Actually, he left an old lady at home.
That sucks.
Prior to being drafted, he was.
Hope she was worth it.
Prior to being drafted,
I meant the French girl.
Yeah, right.
That's why they sent the firing squad.
Oh man. He told Jack to draw him like one of his French girls. No, that's a shitty Titanic reference. Anyways, so this kid, Eddie Slovak, he's from Dearborn, Michigan, left his old lady behind. He had lived a life of crime prior to being drafted. And actually, when he was drafted, he was exempted because of his criminal history. But, when duty calls, we're gonna
push
shuffle
comes
some
to
cards
shove
around. Hey, this dude's ready for duty. Let's send him out. So he ended up getting drafted. Went to Europe, and while in Europe, his unit was hit by artillery, or so to speak. I'm not too sure. He didn't see a lot of combat, but during that artillery shelling that he was involved in, he got separated from his unit and ended up attaching to a Canadian, platoon of Canadians in Europe. Right. And he stayed with them for 6 weeks. And I don't know exactly how much combat these Canadians, so I didn't.
A lot.
I mean, I'm saying this particular unit in this particular time. But it sounds like it sounds like the 6 weeks that he was attached to this unit, him and another buddy, they had hot meals every night, they were sleeping regularly. It was kind of cush compared to the unit he was going to. For World War II standards. So the Canadians got him back to his unit, and he told his buddy, he's like, I'm done with this. I'm deserting. So he wrote a letter, and the letter basically stated that he was deserting the army and deserting the war effort, and he was leaving. So he gave it to someone who ended up passing it to the commander, who was the military policeman of the unit. He was the commander. He goes, commander says, hey, look, here's what we'll do. I'm going to give you an opportunity here. Just tear the letter up. It never happened. You go back to unit. It's just a conversation between you and I.
Yeah.
And he says, nope, not doing it. All right. So, of course, the commander has to pass it down the chain. And his boss said, same option. He's like, hey, listen, this all go away. Just rip up the letter, go back to your unit, done. All right. I don't want to do it. All right. So, ended up going to a third boss, the boss's boss. And that guy says the same thing. He's like, hey, look, how about this? We'll send you a whole different unit, clean slate. This doesn't exist. Just get back. You just go to work. Different unit. Nope. He was operating on the false pretense that he was going to get prison time and that by the end of the war, his sentence would probably be commuted, which is what happened in nearly every case of deserters who got sentenced to prison time. So he told that commander, you can court-martial me. Okay. He got his court-martial. And he was sentenced to an execution.
Jesus.
There's a lot of steps that happened in between that. He petitioned the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces in Europe, Dwight Eisenhower, Ike. I was going to say something totally inappropriate. It was going to get us canceled. Dwight Eisenhower, and it was denied. So during this time where he was deserting, it was in near the Battle of the Bulge, which is, they were expecting huge casualties, and they didn't want to go easy on this guy because it would ruin morale. I guess his commander said, how am I going to look at my other soldiers when I'm sending them off to this conflict? How can I meaningfully look them in the eyes and take them myself seriously, basically, if this guy isn't made an example of? And I guess there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of debate about, hey, are we really going to do this?
Yeah, really.
Are we really going to do this? And ultimately, he was killed by firing squad.
It's insane.
Wild. And so, the praying mantis story reminded me of this for whatever reason. So I thought I'd share that little factoid because it a random thought that came to my head. But crazy time, and I think that was the last time the military has ever executed someone for the sole crime of deserting the United States Army.
Wild.
Now, during World War II, they did kill and execute. I think it was 50 soldiers in total. But
50 men.
50. But they were all court-martialed, and they were charged with some pretty serious crimes. Which again, stuff like murder, right? Like killing civilians and stuff. So I think that's kind of fair too, right? But yeah, anyways, I just thought I'd share that. That's a dark way to start the show.
Yeah.
But it kind of all ties in to what we're talking about today. But John, actually, I'm going to tell you, man. I'm going to go on a little rant here.
Please shoot.
John,
bring the firing squad.
Bring the firing squad. Listen. I feel like in this show, maybe we're not, very overt. I would say we're pretty neutral on a lot of things. Our inclinations, our political beliefs. I think we're a pretty apolitical show.
We like tinfoil hats here.
We like tinfoil hats. We like to think about the stuff that transcends politics, not so much the day-to-day politics. I would say, for multiple reasons, some very practical reasons, we try to be apolitical, and I'm proud of that.
I know that I'm contrarian, so
no, absolutely, and I
admit to it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'm not saying that. But I think for the most part, we try to stay neutral when it comes to more current event hot topics as it relates to strictly politics. For the most part. For the most part.
This train's picking up steam.
Yeah. Well, This leads me to my rant.
All right, here we go.
So,
we're crossing the tracks.
We're crossing the tracks a little bit, and I'm not here to endorse any political ideology or political party. As a matter of fact, I'm here to tell you guys, knock it the fuck off, all of you guys, because here goes the deal. We've come to a point now, and it's as evidenced by the response to Trump's election victory. Whether you were for him or whether you were against him, there is now, for better or worse, the deification of all of our political class. And that's something that I think has been happening for a while. Trump, maybe at the dawn of the Trump era, or obviously I think at times before the Trump era, we were making our political figures godlike, right? Again, whether you're for or against the guy. People on the right, for example, I mean, they're treating Trump as like the second coming of Christ. It's it's like, okay, let's back up a second. Like, he's just a politician. He is a businessman. Now, he's obviously a very influential, and he has a important, he's important to, the institution as it stands, because he's the president-elect right now.
And fact is, was former president.
Exactly. So there's no. I think it's totally fine to acknowledge that this is an important figure, whether you're for or against him, and it's just
controversial or not.
Exactly. Now, again, people on the right are treating him like the second coming of Christ, and people on the left are treating him as he's the Antichrist.
Yeah.
He's neither. He's just at the end of the day, he's just a politician. Your world, whether you are for or against him, is going to continue. You still have to go to work. You still have to figure out how you survive.
True. All
these things continue no matter who's in office, whether it was Kamala or now President-elect Trump. And the reason I bring this up is I read a column this morning, and I won't name the publication.
Why?
Because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to share.
No, bullshit. Name it.
I will name the publication. It was the Huffington Post.
Yeah, fuck you. Keep you accountable.
All right, dick.
No, facts are facts, though.
So it was a HuffPost. I don't remember the name of the columnist, to be fair. It was actually not directly on their website. It was on a Yahoo News article.
Okay.
So Yahoo was promoting their article. Probably some sort of publication agreement. I don't know. So anyways, I was reading this article, and this woman, she was just engaging in this fear porn about the world.
Did you call it fear porn?
I called it fear porn.
Oh.
Because that's exactly what it is. It's essentially pornography for people who, Trump and, his ilk occupy their minds, right?
The mind virus.
Exactly. And so this columnist, she wrote basically how she's very, very conflicted right now because
here he goes.
Because her husband voted for Donald Trump. And you know what she asked? She asked, how can my husband, a Latino man, and if I'm not mistaken, this was a white woman, how can my husband, a Latino man, vote for Donald Trump? And I'm like, lady, it's not that serious. It really is not. So now she told her husband, I'm not going anywhere with your family for the holidays. And mind you, this Latino husband's family is a Latino family, obviously.
Do we know of what nationality?
We don't. She just says a Latino man. So there's a lot to speculate on, right? But
I would have loved to have known.
It would have been curious.
Just because let's add whatever correct timber to the fire we need.
Well, if I knew, I would tell you, but I didn't know because she just says Latino husband. So, anyways, she questions, how can my husband, the Latino, vote for this Antichrist?
Maybe you should message her and try to see if we can.
You know what? I should message her.
Have her on.
Have her on the pod, friend of the pod.
Talk to her. Just understand her stance. That's what I would want to do.
I would like to understand, But the problem is, and you know, I would not be opposed to those conversations, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to get into how someone thinks about the world.
Sure.
My suspicion is she probably doesn't think about the world in that color in her real life. My suspicion is she's just a columnist who's trying to do a hot take.
Oh, wow.
That's my suspicion. Because how can you say that, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere with your family because you voted for Donald Trump. I'm actually going to tell our child, who's a musician at the university, to write songs in revolution and rebellion against the Trump regime. You know, I'm going to tell all my artist friends to create more art. We're going to keep fighting. But her husband, it sounds like and she acknowledges he's a decent, good man. The only thing he did sinful was voted for Donald Trump.
Sinful.
Exactly. And so it really struck a chord with me because it feels like we are deifying these people, for better or for worse. We're making these people our gods. You know, Trump, in some people's eyes, is blameless. His moral character outstanding, which I don't think those are true. Just as a real life, just as neither you and I are perfect, right? We're at the end of the day just normal people. Maybe not normal, but they're people, right? And with all their faults and all their you know, positive attributes, whatever the case may be. Kamala Harris, she is not a god, right? She is a person, a real person who has real history and real past, and who's done good things and who's done bad things, right? There's nothing unnormal about that. That's normal. And so the fact that this person went so far to say, I can't see my family, my in-laws, for Christmas, just tell you don't like the fucking food, or just tell you don't like the in-laws. Don't make up some sort of shitty excuse of why you don't want to go for Christmas or Thanksgiving. That's fucked up. But still, like, we as a society need to move away from seeing our politicians as the lords of our lives, right? It kind of goes back to, I think, our very first episode, What is Free Will? Our very first episode, I think we talk about specifically spirituality and faith and having those things. And I don't think, you know, especially if people who are non-believers, I think it's totally okay, right? But I think the important thing is in order to get away from treating our political figures as gods, I think we have to find something that ascribes meaning and purpose in our lives. Real purpose, whether that's family, whether that's community, something that anchors us to the real world, right? Because most of this politics shit, right? It's not the real world. How do people engage with politics most generally? It's on fucking social media. I was making a comment on that stupid social media post, right? So this political engagement, number one.
I mean, just the quick pushback is, if you voted, which hopefully you did, that was your activism, or at least the extent of your activism, where you're entrenching yourself in whatever you have studied to say, these are the beliefs that I find to be what I align with.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you. Anything further than that, and it now becomes like an enthusiastic fervor, just like Dodger fans and their championships, where
poor Metro buses, right?
I guarantee you this is going to continue all the way up until a couple of years.
Yeah. No, I know it's going to continue.
Right.
Right.
And that's the fanaticalism, right?
Exactly.
That, like, I was talking with my girlfriend, like, the people who, and I was talking with you about it too, the people who are just so in love with or can't escape seeing the way that they see the world in this new light. And I mean, this is an election cycle, and so, like, it's only been everything that you've been reading, consuming, if you're most people, right? So like it's all on the news. It's on every single channel.
Yeah.
It's
Your social
broadcasted
media feed.
everywhere.
Yeah.
My father, who is a avid reader of multiple newspapers and high level magazines like the New Yorker, the Economist, that's all they talk about.
Yeah.
Like those are that's the bread and butter of these articles.
And here goes the thing. I'm not really faulting like traditional media for talking about this, right? I might disagree with how Fox covers something or how CNN covers something, right?
But it's just...
But no, my point is though is that like those, right? CNN and all those magazines, they're creating that content because in part it's what sells, right? It's what's going to get eyeballs.
What's the cycle too?
Exactly. I mean, that to me is so much isn't the issue. Is that as individuals, right? We are not anchored to the real world as people.
But that's kind of where I'm coming at it, right? So with that cycle, with that wave, we're now watching the whitewash of that wave.
Yeah.
From the activism, right? And so now, yeah, you are going to see the pushback from the losers, and you're going to see the enthusiasm from the winners.
Yeah, I mean, those are all. I mean, it's normal behavior, right? Like if the Yankees are probably upset that the Yankees lost the World Series, right?
So
don't mean to put salt in the wounds, boys, but
that's exactly my point, right?
No, I get what you're saying, right?
So this lady is definitely gonna say we're not gonna talk about the turkey.
Okay.
We're going to end up talking about politics because I'm over here in front of this motherfucker's house.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be here.
She was upset with him because, she was so upset with him in this article.
Disappointed.
Upset. I think she was upset, at least for the purposes of the article. Not just disappointed, heartbroken, she says. That he made her morning coffee like he does every morning. And she just...
And what, like this time it came in like a Trump mug?
I think it was her favorite mug, most likely. And she just says, "Oh, I'm not going to drink that," and she let it sit cold.
Because she's still an activist.
Okay. Again, I hear you, but I'm just talking about what I don't. I think the media obviously has a role to play in this, right? Hence,
did you hear that Aaron Judge is going to be there for the New Year's Eve ball drop?
Oh, hopefully. Hopefully he catches it.
Hopefully he runs in time just like Garrett Cole does to first.
Man,
you see what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying, but what I'm trying to get at is that
it grinds your gears. All right,
individual people, right? Our friends, our family,
sure,
like regular folk. Yeah, maybe your guy lost or maybe your guy won. That's not treated as a sports team anymore. But
that's how it is.
I know, but you're not hearing me. We need to get away from that.
How do you do it?
That's a question that is going to take a lot of thought and a lot of mental space to think about, right? But I'm expressing my frustration with the fact that it is like a sports team, right? Because think about what's different. I mean, kind of different is that a political candidate, yeah, there's a community around there, just as there is a sports team, right? There's a community built around a sports team. But the community around...
There's a budget. They're paying for people.
100%. There's a lot of similarities. But I think the biggest difference is that when you're part of a community, though, that political community foments so much hate. Like, and so much, but not just so much hate, but if we create almost like a religious cult around these characters. I don't think any sports organization, I don't care how big the sports organization, yes, there might be a cult-like tendencies in a group. They all wear the same things. There's a lot of traditions and pride. But I don't think people are going to fucking kill each other for the most part. Obviously, Dodger baseball, right? We have instances, but it's just not the same. I think it's not exactly the same, and it's frustrating because, again, I don't think we treat these sports teams as gods per se in the same context as we do these politicians, right? And it's just frustrating because we're losing touch with the real world. Nothing is truly anchoring us to the real world. And that's my frustration. How can it change? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know the answer to that. Will it change? Again, probably not. But it's just frustrating that our interaction with politics is so distorted from reality that it becomes our identity. Even with Dodger baseball, as a counterpoint, you have a physical place that you can go and partake in these activities, right? A lot of sports is done in groups, is done with families, done with friends. There's a community around that. Where I think the difference in politics is that people engage with it primarily online, and that's, to me, the biggest difference, right? And that becomes more of an identity that I think just a sports team does, and that's the problem. Where now, if your guy loses or your guy wins, it's so much more significant to you than it really is at the end of the day. So that's my frustration. And to close and button it off, my prescription, anyways, at least for my personal life, is I think we just need to find stuff that anchors us to the real world, whether that be in an activity with others. We talk about on the show about doing hard things, right? And I think a lot of purpose can come from doing hard things, doing things with other people. So find something that ascribes meaning to your life that's deeper than some facade of these godlike characters on the TV, right? I think we need to move away from that, and that could be religion, that could be volunteering, that could be a lot of things. It doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to be it could be whatever you want, right? But I think people need to find meaning in something. And I think the other two components of this are you need to work hard, because we read these great things, and a lot about is working hard even when you fail, and learning how to not just turn around and give up, but learn how to pivot when it doesn't happen, right? When you do face those rejections. And I think the last thing that's kind of missed sometimes is being kind, right? I think it's Maya Angelou. I think this is her quote. And forgive me, Pod, if I fuck this up. But I think Maya Angelou said that it's seldom we remember something someone said to us or someone did for us as our life goes on, but we remember how it makes us feel. And I think that is a huge thing. We have to be kind to one another, even if it's hard, right? It goes back to doing hard things. We have to be kind to one another, because I think ultimately that's what it's going to promote civility. That's when it's going to bring people back to a little bit measure of balance. Mm-hmm. People voted for Kamala or people voted for Trump. They have their reasons. How about we respect those reasons and just be kind to one another, show someone a little bit of grace, and let's get over this shit, man. It's just frustrating. And so that's where my rant comes from. Is it totally right? Am I totally off the mark on this? Maybe, but I just think we have to move away from treating our politicians like gods. Just a thought. Which
hold on. Did you see Elon's post on Twitter, on X, after the election?
I might have. I don't recall.
And it had like the map of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and how it ended up.
it the one with the arrows and kind of shifting directions?
No.
Okay, no, I don't think I saw it.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, let's pull it up. I'll put it up on my trusty phone.
So, Dr. Jack had a response for Elon.
Let's go. Dr. Jack who?
Dr. Jack Kruse.
There we go.
Let's see if you can find it.
This is right after the election?
Pretty much. And Elon is saying apparently red light helps you sleep at night. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Is the post. And it's a map of the US. Read it.
Is that Elon Musk X post? They say red light helps you sleep better at night. And just to describe what I'm looking at, it's a map of the United States, and it shows red throughout a majority of counties throughout the entire country, with pockets of blue really clustered around the big cities of the United States.
Thank you for saying that last part, because that's where Jack comes in.
Yeah.
Really clustered around the big cities. And so I guarantee you this lady who wrote that piece lives in one of these big cities.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay. And Jack is saying it's no coincidence that she voted the way she voted.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that the husband didn't comply or conform.
Yeah.
So clearly, maybe that's the one quiet way that he can wear the pants in the relationship, or
maybe
there is a good give and take in the relationship. That's up for her to defend.
Yeah.
And us to speculate on. But Jack would argue that it's the fucking blue light. It's literally the fact that there's so many people living in one condensed city or metropolitan area that requires all this extra EMF.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here in all of this metro area have routers, have phones. And so there's so much electromagnetic disruptions that allow essentially MK Ultra fully gone through and exploded 60 years later.
Yeah.
Right? 56 years, 60 years,
Like that.
And now that we're getting the responses that we do from the people that we do who live in these big cities because of the population, because of the technology that is unavoidable.
Mm.
And so I know in my own family, politics could be a very divisive thing.
Yeah.
Always.
I think politics have always been a divisive thing. But to the degree that it is today, I don't know.
It's because of the fucking blue light.
Potentially.
What else is it going to be?
I mean,
remember the crazy conspiracy theories of like the jab going around with more 5G towers being installed and Huawei being behind it because they're the ones installing it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing about this.
Okay, so
do I know about
No.
this?
But the sheer fact that line of thinking exists.
Yeah.
That something is going to happen with the effect of 5G that's going to disrupt something else. And Dr. Jack is saying, no, motherfuckers. There's actual scientific literature. Because he replied to Elon explaining this is why that happened. Because of these towers. This is not a fucking if speculation. No.
Yeah.
This is science.
This is what Jack Kruse is saying.
This is science. No. This is what other people have published.
Okay.
Let's make it clear.
Okay.
So that, because you,
okay, just hold on, just so I'm clear.
Yeah, because
So
I feel that you're still on the fence.
I mean, so these are
Published scientific literature
about blue light.
About the effects of blue light, about the effects of EMF, about the effects of cell towers, about the effects of living in mass populated fucking cities.
Yeah.
About not being close to the ground and living on the 17th floor in your penthouse apartment, or on the 34th floor, or on the 58th floor, or on the 72nd fucking floor.
Yeah. I'm following you here.
Your sleep, your life, your entire being gets disrupted because of the mitochondria. You're laughing.
I'm laughing because you're so intense right now.
But that's what all the fucking published literature is saying.
Yeah.
And nobody's paying attention to it.
So, because I haven't heard of these studies. I haven't read these studies.
Thanks to Dr. Fauci.
Potentially, yeah.
Who gets to put a big... Let's not talk about this.
Yeah.
This is shit published around the world, not necessarily just in the United States.
Fair. I mean, I remember during COVID especially, there was a study out of Sweden, I think it was.
Okay.
And Sweden was one of the countries that, and I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure it was out of Scandinavia. So Sweden was one of the countries that didn't mask up. And so they basically wanted to study the efficacy of masks. And so it said their conclusion was, masks are basically useless because, one, what kind of mask do you have? Generally speaking, it was a surgical mask during COVID, right? Two, are we using them right? Those surgical masks are one and done. Not, hey, I'm going to stuff it in my pocket, use it a little bit later, and then put it back on and take it off again. Like, it's one and done. Same with the N95s, right? There's classes in school, medical school, and how to properly don a mask, right? So it said the efficacy of masks were very low. If it had, marginal impact, if any at all, at slowing any sort of spread. And what was interesting to me during that time, I remember looking up research articles prior to 2019, 2020, and it was about the efficacy of masks, and kind of all echoing the same thing. Like, hey, masks are effective in some cases, not really effective in other cases, and it kind of all comes down to the user as well, right? But then all of a sudden during COVID, masks, there were studies that came out that, man, these masks, they're damn good. 100% efficacy. And I'm not saying those were the conclusions, but generally speaking, if you look at the literature around that time, masks were very effective. But all the studies that utilized and tried to test these masks, they didn't really account for real world factors like people and how people use the mask. I mean, a lot of these studies were utilizing just like a perfect scenario of how the user would use the mask, and that just wasn't how the masks were used. Like, and again, coming back to masks too, cloth mask, like how effective is a KN95 versus a cloth mask, like someone made in their yard or at their house, right? I had a mask, and I wore it proudly only because I had to, generally at work and stuff. But it was made from one of my coworkers' moms, right? It's not a KN95. I never wore a KN95 during the pandemic just because they were never available, right? But it was just interesting to me then, seeing previous literature had, I'd say masks weren't very effective in certain situations. then masks were super effective. And then the studies that came out contemporaneously with that objected to those hypothesis, rather, those theories, they were kind of downvoted. So it was just interesting. So this is what you're saying is very similar to the effects of blue light and all these EMF and different radio wave and signals, right? There's studies on that were, just for lack of a better word, downgraded.
Repeat what you just said?
That they have these studies, but they were maybe discredited or downgraded so as not to be distributed.
They're not utilized.
Yeah.
That's all. And centralized medicine doesn't want it to be utilized.
Yeah.
But I hear your enthusiasm for having done the research of the COVID mask. Now I encourage you to go do the same thing about red light, infrared light, blue light, UVA, UVB light, and you will be astonished.
Here goes the thing. I have some of the stuff that I have seen. I haven't really done a deep dive on that. I agree with you. And the reason I'm chuckling, though, is because you're so intense right now.
No, because
you have the red glasses on.
Because I want you to understand that that's part of the mind control.
Yeah.
That if you have that capability, if you have that poker card that nobody fucking knows that's even on the table.
Yeah.
And I'm letting you know it's being played.
Yeah.
Then wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
And most people won't.
Yeah.
Most people are so addicted and so dopamine low.
Yeah.
That they don't care. They won't listen. They won't do the research. They won't figure it out. They won't come to their own conclusions on it.
Yeah.
And that's it. End of the argument. So I'm going to keep fucking pushing back on you because I know you're smart enough to figure it out.
Whoa. I'm not debating you here.
No. But just so that you understand that your rant was almost in vain. I let you have it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also letting you know it's because of the
bigger picture.
It's the blue light. And she's trapped in the blue light.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that she doesn't disclose what her husband is, nationality-wise, because that would be a huge indicator as to why he's voting the way that he is.
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that you're telling me he's Hispanic.
Well, Latino is what the article used.
Whatever.
Yeah. What that means, I don't know. Right.
Ask Reagan.
Exactly. I'm still trying to figure that out. We're quote unquote Hispanic or Latino, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But that doesn't mean we're.
I'm not white.
Exactly. Right.
I'm also white, but I'm also black.
Yeah, exactly.
I did my genealogy. I did my DNA, and apparently, I'm a mutt.
Yeah.
A full.
As am I. Did you do the 23andMe or Ancestry, like the DNA stuff?
Yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah, my details were sold.
I don't know how I feel about that. But, I mean, everything else is sold, so at least I get to find out some interesting shit at the cost of my personal information.
Exactly. Aren't you curious?
I did records check on using Ancestry.com, because if you have some baseline information about your family, like up to your great-grandparents are likely on some census data,
right?
And so on. So it's easy to kind of piece together documents because their software is really, really, really easy to use, and you find some cool shit on there. I found some cool shit that I was really, oh wow, it's a head scratcher. Like, that makes sense. But yeah. John, that was a deep discussion. That's almost a whole pod in and of itself, what we just chatted about. Shit.
That's fine.
No, I enjoyed it. But speaking about winners and losers, I think, and part of the reason why I felt like it was appropriate Rant, and they try to set things up for a reason. I thought it was a nice segue into what we're talking about today, and that's rejection and career building, and how rejection is not your enemy, but it's actually your friend. Talk to us about it, John.
How so? I mean...
Well, okay, let's start with let's start with a question then. You know, if you are in your early, you're starting your career, or you're looking to start your career, or maybe you don't even know what your career is yet or where you want to go.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like at times there's an infinite amount of paths available to you, but you almost have a crisis of choosing what to do. So if you're someone who is in that early phase of your life, you know, what would you tell someone is that, like, hey, you know, this is, you know, maybe look at this, or maybe consider this information. What would you say to that person? And
Okay.
Some 20-somethings who are looking to better their lives.
Better answer. So when I work with my clients, I want to know everything about them in a full scope, to the extent that I have contracts with certain personality tests.
Yeah.
Not just the regular, you know, Myers-Briggs bullshit, but like something a little bit more catered to what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I let them do that. And so for my nieces, nephews, you know, friends, families, close family members who I see are lost, I have them take one of these exams.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, it kind of lets them know where their strengths, where their weaknesses kind of lie.
Yeah.
And it gives you a strong setting of like options for you to say, you know, these are some potential based off of your exams, like in your results. These are the kind of career paths that you might be interested in. And one of the things is okay, like from, you know, I depending on each individual person, it comes out with like, let's say, you know, 15 different options of things that you might be interested in.
Yeah.
Now we'll make a top 5, and then make a plan to figure out how are we going to explore these things until we can figure out, okay, that's something I do want to continue. This is something I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
And kind of letting that curiosity off of this exam kind of guide the light to figuring out where you should be.
Yeah.
Right. I'll be sexist and say I think it does matter whether you're a boy or a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And
how so?
If you're 18 years old and you're a girl, I think you're much better off studying, exploring something that gets you curious. Because I've already met too many young girls, right, from my family and nieces and their friends, and see that they just get too curious with something else with boys, and their path gets lost.
Yeah.
And what could have been is now left with the, you know, the difficulties and the benefits and the happiness of bearing a family and starting that off sometimes too soon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so initially for a girl, that advice would be, you know, maybe take a year off and go travel.
Yeah.
See if you can find your friends and family to travel with you so you can go explore the world, and then you can come look at college with fresh eyes and kind of decide a path if that's what you want to do, or see, you know, I've seen enough of the world that I actually do want to be a mom, and I want to dedicate myself to doing something like that, and find yourself to doing that.
Yeah.
Because for some women that is something that they want to do, versus other women who want to say, no, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I want to go out or start a business, right?
Yeah.
So that's different in comparison to a boy where it's kind of just like try everything.
Yeah.
You have the freedom and ability to do that. You don't have that time clock of starting a family and wanting to get that family off soon, because especially in this society, Sweet 16, Mexican Latino society, quinceañeras,
Yeah.
that's the sending off of saying my daughter is now young enough now that she's going to marry. I mean, that's what a quinceañera is. You're going to go out with a chambelán and figure out which of these boys do I like the most so that I can go on a date with, so that I can go out and get married with them.
Yeah.
And the father is saying, I like this guy, go for it. I like all of them, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what that is.
Yeah. Historically, right.
And this sending off of a Sweet 16 is saying, you're old enough to now make your own decisions. You literally, traditionally, can now just start driving, right? With your little permit, and you're free to go.
Permit.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it depends on where you are in life.
Yeah.
I think I am taking that sexist angle because
I wouldn't call it.
It is a sexist angle.
I don't think so.
Because it is different for boys and it is different for girls, I think.
I think when you hear the word sexist, you think discriminatory.
Yeah, it's got a negative connotation.
I wouldn't say that's discriminatory as it is like, hey, we're potentially accounting for just realities that exist on the ground.
100%.
Right? We're accounting for actual differences between the genders.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily think that's sexist. Now, if we tell a woman or we tell a boy that, or a man, hey, you can't do this because of that, then I think that's where it borders lines on the degree of sexism. So I just maybe semantics, but
Yeah, definitely.
I think I like what you're saying though. It seems one of those things that the common thread between both of them, what you're saying is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
When you're young, you got to try all these things, right? It's like trying food that for the first time. You may not like it at first, but if you keep trying it, you develop taste for it. So it's like the same thing, doing sports or trying or looking at different subjects and learning different things. Like having that curious mind is going to be that in my opinion, that foundational piece that ultimately will position someone else or position someone to get to that next level or discover what's really for them.
Right.
How can you really know what you want to do if you weren't curious about it?
Sure.
Okay. Well, so obviously we in life, people, they reach a lot of, or they find something that they're very interested in. They reach that level where like, hey, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to focus on and really become an expert at it or make this a part of my career. But they get all these rejections. Maybe they didn't get into the school they wanted to get into for a particular program, or maybe they didn't get the job that they applied for in a hope to get it. Maybe something just didn't work out. What do you think the appropriate response is to that?
I mean, you got to figure out. I mean, those are tough. You got to figure out where you went wrong.
Yeah.
Is it you? Is it something that you need to change?
Yeah.
Is this the moment where you need to just buckle down? I think for me personally, I came back from Spain, having worked with my first few family offices, having worked with startups.
Yeah.
Doing an internship with a management consulting company, and now I was trying to figure out what am I going to do here stateside.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to visit a headhunter that my dad had trained in as a CPA, and hoping that he would be able to either put me in a tax firm, working with a tax attorney, potentially a family office.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it, because I came in kind of bushy-eyed, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Hoping that this person who understood that my dad really picked him up when he was in a moment of need and trained him.
Yeah.
Got him ready and helped him become a better man. That I was at that same moment, and that this person might be what my dad was for him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, this guy took a good look at me and closed the door and said, "You ain't shit, and I can't fucking help you."
Wow.
I was completely shocked.
Yeah.
That somebody who had come in with such high regard would come at me and basically say, "Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your own. You ain't shit." Because what he was hoping for was I went to like an Ivy League school. I was in top of my class. I went to top school for this, top school for that.
Yeah. All the credentialism.
So that his job as a headhunter would just be
Plug in and play.
like a fucking semiconductor. And then I knew, okay, if you're not going to help me, I need to do something different.
Well, before we continue there, I mean, that's got to be pretty soul crushing, right? Like I don't care if, obviously I've expressed to you what I think about your resilience as a person, but like I don't care how resilient you are in your life, like that type of crushing rejection sucks. Obviously you did pivot, and I think that's what maybe we're getting to next.
Yeah, I've done burnouts in his parking lot with my Porsche.
100%. So obviously you did pivot and you found some success, but can you kind of talk about, if you're feeling that level of crushing blow, so to speak, like what was it in that moment that you felt, and what was the spark to get you to pivot?
Just to know that fuck you, you ain't shit either.
Yeah.
I went up and I looked up everything that I could about this piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I said, there's nothing about you that I'm not going to fucking destroy.
Yeah.
What's your net worth? I did my quick math and I said, oh, this is what you're worth? Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'll blow right by you. And I know I have.
Yeah.
And I'm a fucking kid, dude. This is
Yeah.
a grown-ass man.
Because how old are you at the time? This was almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
And I knew what I had, and I knew what I was worth. And for this man to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's kind of what, before we continue with what you're saying, because I think it's good shit, is that I think a lot of times when we do experience those crushing rejections, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a significant other, right? Like, how you respond to something in those immediate moments after, I think is telling in where you're gonna go, right? I think it's okay to let rejection sit, and it's okay to like, fuck, that sucks, right? I think you have to some degree accept something went wrong somewhere and acknowledge that failure, whatever that failure was, You know, but then also, like you said earlier, I think you got to really kind of reevaluate where the gears weren't shifting, where it was something wasn't working. But I think a lot of times people forget that stage in the rejection part is that what they forget rather is fucking it sucks. It's okay to acknowledge that fucking rejection sucks. You know, everyone goes through it at some point. Everyone has a crushing rejection. Um, but I think it, on the transverse of that is if you acknowledge that it sucks, that's instead where, and you know, kind of what we talked about earlier, is that that's the moment where you have to really dig deep, pull yourself out of that hole, and that's where you pivot in that moment, right? Because if you get that crushing blow, especially if something that you were hoping for, expecting, and you let it defeat you, that lesson that could have been learned wasn't learned, right? So the steps, at least that I see in my mind, is, and the experience that I've had, is acknowledge like, hey, this wasn't my best moment. This sucks. I feel like shit, but it's never going to happen again. And here's what I'm going to do different. Right. And that process might not be instant day one, but you said something that's really interesting to me is like you got mad about it. I think sometimes you need to get fucking mad about it, and you need to have that spark. 'Cause sometimes when you get rejection, it's like you lose the spark, and you have to fight. And sometimes you get the spark. It's like, I'm fucking pissed. I'm gonna take this to the next level. But sometimes, if you get that rejection and you recoil and okay, fuck it. Well, I guess that's it, right?
I think that's sports. I mean, that's my own upbringing.
Yeah, right. I mean, how do you when you're in your darkest moment, how do you find the spark?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be individual to every person.
Yeah.
Right. But know the steps is that when you are rejected, you need to pivot. You need to get mad about it, or whatever the comparable equivalent is. Like, you need to find that in you to say, okay, I need to go right now, or I need to go left. Because if you don't have that spark and you let that rejection defeat you, then you don't grow. You don't learn from that experience. And I think rejection for me in my life has been a big teacher. I mean, yeah. So I just wanted to slow you down a little bit, just so we could really touch on that feeling that it's okay to get these rejections. It's okay to that they suck and it doesn't feel good. Those feelings are normal, but you got to do something about it.
Right.
And if you don't do something about it, you don't channel all that energy that built up. Because let's face it, like, if you're upset about something, you're angry, or you're like sad, that's fucking energy that you can transfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that is more than you could have ever imagined. So you got that rejection and you got mad about it. What happened next?
I mean, I had to essentially license up. Became clear if really finance was the field I wanted to get into. I needed licenses. If I wanted to get into tax, I needed to do that license. If I wanted to do anything,
yeah,
I needed some sort of license. It wasn't enough to get by or to get into a big institution just off of the work experience that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of these centralized places expect licenses.
Yeah.
And that was something that I didn't have.
Yeah.
That I didn't need. I was going off of just being there and understanding what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And learning from these masters what they're doing. Although I don't have any power or authority to do it, I know exactly why and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And to the headhunter, that doesn't mean fuck all.
Yeah.
So to be a semiconductor, you have to be a fucking semiconductor.
Yeah.
And I didn't plug in. So I think my first step was I knew I didn't want to do tax. So something that kind of came across real easy was a friend of mine who was working in insurance. And he's like, I can help you get an insurance license ASAP. And he's like, that will help. He's like, because then from that license, we can help you get, like 3 or 4 other licenses.
Yeah.
But you just need to get in.
Yeah.
And just getting into the system will help. And I hated the idea of insurance. But I listened to him, did it anyways, and kind of followed through and did all the other ones. And that's kind of what led me down into the path of saying, for me, the ultimate, or at least what I thought, if you're going to be a semiconductor, is the certified financial planning.
Yeah.
Because it encompasses tax, real estate, interest, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurance, like personal insurance, house, like everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of little things. And in that process and kind of just being at the right place at the right time, from the contacts that I made in Spain, because I was working with a big management consulting firm in Spain, and I got an internship because of the school. I was a top student, so that I was able to do that. From there, I was able to get intimate with a couple of the big investors of these startups.
Yeah.
And I realized that startups were done a little bit differently, at least in this specific field, where most of the money was coming from family offices.
Yeah.
And my father at the time was working with about 4 family offices. And so it was just fitting.
Yeah.
And they liked me. I liked them. I was able to work with them. And while I was here back in the U.S., one of them came out to visit when I was down in the depths.
Yeah.
And he kind of told me, he's like, I think I know someone who could use your help.
Yeah.
And so he set up a meeting, and kind of as I had assumed, this particular kind of client, not this centralized office where I would be earning a salaried W-2 paying into a target fund, was like, I don't give a fuck if you don't have these licenses.
Yeah.
I know it is clear that you understand how you can be helpful to me.
Yeah.
So I'll pay for that. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And that kind of was part of the start. And at the time, I was actually talking with one of my ex-classmates from Spain about potentially getting into the sports management business.
Yeah.
And since the doors of like working in corporate finance were closing itself left and right, and I was kind of sick of going through the meetings and feeling like literally being a cog, I took the entrepreneurial path, started a sports management business, and we tried to set up sports contracts, sponsorship contracts with players, athletes, brands.
I remember that.
And that taught me a lot. that led to then making my own kind of financial planning business with just these family offices, and giving me the ability to work with kind of the people I want to, and kind of sidestepping this entire industry.
Yeah.
Giving the biggest fuck you to the financial world, because I myself became independently wealthy without their money, without their schemes, without their tactics.
Yeah.
And then at the same time figured out how I could be useful to the clients who are above the centralized system and
Yeah.
don't believe in it either.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I find myself now.
Yeah.
That's who I work with. That's how I got there. It's started because of my dad being a CPA. But it's because taxes.
Yeah.
Taxes was the fruit of it. And my own interests, leading to the curiosity of stocks, investing, not wanting to do insurance, still doing it, looking at mutual fund companies, looking at ETF companies, looking at actual stock exchange, working there.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff, the whole gamut. I tried to get my foot in, and over and over and over the door kept saying, you're better off doing it alone.
Yeah.
And that in the end is the best decision I ever did.
Yeah. Man, as you were talking, I was thinking about something we read earlier. And this part really resonated with me. It says, perhaps your current job is the weight you're lifting so you can be stronger for what's next. Embrace the grind as preparation. Your purpose, passion, and next move are like hidden sketches in Da Vinci's notebooks.
Right.
I mean, I think sometimes when we are rejected by, in your situation, the centralized system, right? There might be some confusion with that, right? There might be disparate thoughts. There might just be desperation to be accepted when you never will be, right? And so whether you're going through rejection or you're not where you want to be, it just seems like if you embrace that for what it is, right, and you still keep grinding, like that mental resilience that you develop is so powerful.
Yeah.
And like you as a business owner, right? You know, there's ups and downs, like the business, being a business owner versus being a cog in a machine. You bear a lot of responsibility, right? If something fails, like the amount of liability, the amount of ambiguity that you have to deal with as a business owner, that shit's probably harder than any rejection that you have to deal with. But how do you deal with it, right? And I think in your case, and certainly in my experience too, you deal with it, not that it becomes easier, but you've done the work where now you're better, right? There was a quote that stuck with me. It's for a long time, is that it doesn't get easier, you just get better, right? And part of getting better is embracing that fucking pain, embracing the suck, embracing rejection, and you know, like become a mud monster, right? The more mud you throw at it, the bigger and stronger I get.
Right.
So I think that's powerful stuff, dude. Like the fact that you had went through that experience of that consistent rejection from across the board. You know, someone telling you you're not shit because you don't have the credentials. It's like, that shit doesn't mean anything, really. Well, tell me what kind of person you are. I think those are the good things. And anyone who doesn't feel like they have the credentials to be successful, like, look, keep grinding. Someone's going to find you, right? Keep fighting. You're going to find, whether you create your own path or you, you know, you help something else grow into something beautiful, right? Like, keep fucking fighting. That's the moral of the story. I remember in my own personal life, there was a job that I really, really, really so badly wanted, and I worked my ass off for it. I mean, I did a lot of preparation for this position, and when it came time, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I thought when that rug was stripped from me, or when the rug was pulled under my feet, which it really felt like that, and I think it was acknowledged too, even on the part of the company. Dude, I was gutted because for years, like, that's what I thought I was going to be, and that's what I thought I was going to do. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I remember the clarity I got, though. I felt 90% like devastated because that was it. Like, this wasn't happening.
Yeah.
All the work that I put in, it didn't mean anything at that moment, right? At least how I felt. But there was a bit of clarity, like, okay, now I have to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do next? And I remember I took all the lessons from that, and when I started applying to other companies and really applying those lessons and applying that and having that resilience, I got hired by this new company within like 3 months.
Right.
And this new company has been great to me. And I didn't know exactly that's where I was going to end up, but that's where I ended up.
Yeah.
and I'm happy for it. I feel like it ended up being better than the company I really originally wanted to work for, big time. And so, but it was just that moment of clarity, like, fuck, like you said, fuck them. I remember that's exactly when I read their email, like, fuck you guys. You guys are fucking pieces of shit. And I got mad. I was sad. And I thought I wasted my time.
Mm-hmm.
But that clarity I got was like, if you don't want me, I don't care. I don't want you anymore. And I'm going to move on to the next best thing. Or move on to what's best for me, right? And man, it's been a blessing otherwise, right? So I don't know, man. I just think it all comes back to a lot of what we talk about, just mindset. If you're interviewing for your company, or if you're trying to start your own business, I think you, especially as a resource for starting your own business, if you're doing something, whatever you're doing, like, you have to give it 100%. You can't give up when you get a no. I in the old band, right? Dude, we got rejected. It was crazy. I went back to my old emails a few years ago, and I looked at my sent inbox because I was just curious, because this is where I sent all the band shit. Dude, I was relentless. I think I sent maybe several hundred emails to these different venues all around LA, outside of LA, all over the place. Maybe not several hundred, that might be an exaggeration, but a lot of emails just saying, hey, here's my band, here's what we do, we want to play at your place, let's make it happen. And dude, the amount of emails that you don't get back, the amount of things that you never hear from someone, right? Like, it's obvious rejection. Like, we got rejected a shitload of times, but then because we sent out all that, I sent out all those fucking emails, and I made contact and tried to make connections with some of these people. We played a lot of fucking shows for being just like, high school, early college band. Like, we did a lot, and I was really fucking proud of that. And then when we weren't playing shows, we fucking did our own thing, and we converted our backyard to a fucking venue. We would invite kids out, and we'd have shows in the backyard.
Right.
Backyard shows, and We invited other bands that we knew and to play with us, and it's like, fuck it, if we can't get a show when we want to play, we're just gonna make our own show.
Exactly.
And I think it was, that was the most fun we had too, just playing with our friends, playing with the bands that we really like enjoyed playing with. It wasn't like, hey, you're playing a club in Hollywood and the headliner is like some douche band from the UK, which has happened.
Right.
Right? It was happening quite a bit where the headliner is some fucking shitty band and they're all assholes because they think they're God's gift to music. But it's like, dude, you're the headliner for a Wednesday night at the Whiskey. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I mean, they're doing their own thing too, but it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, man. A lot of it, I think those experiences and my feelings about those bands would have probably been different had they just been kind.
Right.
Right? I respect everyone's grind and hustle, but at the same token, dude, like, no one's going to remember shit you did. If you think about it too, all the celebrities, right, from yesteryear, from the 30s, 40s, and the 50s, right, these were the biggest actors and celebrities of their time, right? I mean, you got
Charlie Chaplin.
You got Charlie Chaplin. You got fucking George Burns, huge comedian. All these actors, right?
Marilyn Monroe.
Well, she kind of transcended, I think, a little bit with her image. But, man, I'm thinking...
Rock Hudson.
Rock Hudson, yeah, right?
Queer.
But if you ask those people of those generations, right, these guys are the ones, these are the legends. But if you say
Bugsy Siegel,
yeah, right, Red Skelton, Jack Vinny,
right?
I mean, these are I love Jack Vinny. I think he's hilarious, but for the most part, like, these were the legends, the superstars of their day and age. But these superstars of yesteryear, they don't mean dick today.
Right.
Like, if you talk to someone about Jack Vinny, like some rando, or you mentioned Jack Vinny on a TikTok, who the fuck is that? Like, that's not who's important. So, and it's all of this to say is that whatever thing is big now is not going to be big tomorrow, right?
The 1912 White Sox.
Exactly.
Al Capone.
But that's my point. So, no, people are only going to remember how you make them feel. They're not going to remember anything you did, right? And that was the analogy I was trying to draw.
Bernie Sanders.
People are only going to remember how you made them feel. So why not just be remembered for being kind?
Bill Clinton.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I did not. Quiet down there.
Stop coughing.
We're going to have to take a 5-minute presser. Got to use the restroom, you know what I mean? Clean up a little bit. Yeah, so I just think at the end of the day, part of looking to do a new career, like, number one, be curious. Really find what you're doing.
Right.
Find out what you want to do, and you only find out what you want to do by learning, right? And really seeking. I think the next component of that too, man, is what are we looking at?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, being curious, and then going out and trying to accomplish what you are interested in, right? Mm-hmm. So part of the question is, hey, should I go back to school? Well, that's a very specific question, right? If something you're interested in, like in your case, requires certificates, requires licensures to establish some sort of credibility, or you need that particular license to practice whatever you need to do. Like, obviously, if you're an attorney, if you really want to be a lawyer, then you have to go through those steps, mm-hmm. right? And that's the bells and whistles. But if there's something else that you want to do that doesn't necessarily need that, I don't see the purpose of going to get an MBA if your goal is to do the business, some sort of business, whatever that business is. Like, just do the fucking business.
Yeah.
You know, but if MBA is going to improve whatever standing in your company, and that's what your company is asking for, then it makes sense to get an MBA, right? I don't think the credential is, by and large, the most important thing.
Right.
But it's going to be individual to everybody's unique experience.
100%.
Like for me, I don't plan to go back to school anymore. I don't plan to get a master's degree because, you know, my job, I'm set where I'm at. And I can experience growth in my career without having to get a degree now, furthering my education.
Right.
Especially, I don't know what I would do with a master's in history at my current field, or any other master's for that matter. But so yeah, just be careful about wanting to add education or not education, but add credential for the purpose of adding a credential. I think you just have to be careful and make sure that it's actually necessary for what you're doing. Like if you want to be a nurse or a doctor, yeah, motherfucker, you got to go to school. Sorry, don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no more word salads behind your name.
Exactly, right? And then two, man, when you do get those rejections, because they're coming, it's just a matter of, you know, learning to accept that rejection and pivot, right?
Well, like you said, baseball. I mean,
Huge.
To be a good baseball player, you have to have a really short memory.
Yeah.
But then you have to remember when you made your mistakes. But you have to have a short memory.
Well, so when we're throwing, for example, and I always feel like this is a perfect analogy for me and anything I do, is when we're throwing the baseball, like I feel when my release point is fucked up and the ball goes sailing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, that sucked, right? And fucking making my catch partner fucking run because my release point sucked. So you're right in that you need a short memory, but how, you know, that's kind of a failure, right? That wasn't my intended target, so now I need to adjust. And how do I adjust? You know, you find your pocket. You know, you find your grip, whatever you need to adjust. Just fucking find it,
Right.
And then you throw it where you want to throw it. And I see that. I try to make adjustments in real time when playing catch or something, and that's what it is. Just adapt, overcome, and survive.
Well, it's baseball. It's a game of adjustments.
Exactly. And that's why I think baseball is probably one of the better sports for analogies of life. Like, life is all about adjustments. Conan O'Brien had a quote that really has stuck with me. It was on his last night of The Tonight Show.
Oh, boy.
His last night. He was promoted to The Tonight Show to replace Jay Leno.
Right.
The problem is that Jay Leno decided he still wanted to be a late night. So they had moved. Jay Leno had the Jay Leno Show, which was during the time of The Tonight Show. And they made The Tonight Show later than it normally was. Well, Conan was right in saying, well, that's not really The Tonight Show then. This time slot is The Tonight Show. This is historically what it's been.
Yeah.
This is The Tonight Show. So Conan accepted a deal, a $40 million deal. They paid him very handsomely. But after, I think it was like less than a year, it was like 7 or 8 months of hosting The Tonight Show, he walked away from it. And what a fucking... hard to walk away from something like that, right? Because that was his dream. Right? Just like that place I wanted to work, that was my fucking dream. Right? And so this is Conan's dream. I mean, prior to the age of social media and YouTube and stuff, like comedians, that was the bar. Oh, you fucking made it. You got to perform on The Tonight Show. Holy fucking shit, that's huge.
Right.
And then to follow great comedian like, you know, Johnny Carson.
Right.
To follow the footsteps into The Tonight Show, like you made it, right?
Yeah.
That's the dream. And what do you do when your dream is like literally pulled away from you?
Yeah. Don't meet your heroes.
That's true too. I've got some stories about them heroes. But still, Conan says something that night. It was his last episode of The Tonight Show, as he's ready to give up on his, let go of his dream to pivot to something else. And this has been a guiding philosophy for me. He's like, in life, you really never know where you're going to end up.
Right.
Basically, your best laid plans are just that. It's your best laid plans. But with the way reality works, it's probably not going to be exactly what you wanted. He was like, in life, you're probably not going to end up where you want to be.
Yeah.
But if you're kind and you work hard, great things are possible. And I fucking will die on that hill. Great
100%.
Things are fucking possible if you are, if you work hard and you're kind to people. So, that's the lesson. That's what we got to do. And that's what we're passing on. So, for those of you looking to make those career moves, do it. And if it doesn't happen, do it again.
Figure it out.
Figure it out, because by giving up on yourself, you're just going to...
You're cheating yourself.
You're cheating yourself, exactly. John, you look tired. What's going on over there?
I've been up since 4.
Holy fucking shit. What time is it? It is 11:18 Pacific Standard Time. I don't know about you. I think we'll probably call it then.
Sure.
How you feeling?
I'm all right.
You're dozing off over there. John, you're one of the wisest people I know. Can you send us off with some wisdom?
No, you can talk about something else, and I'll go get another beer. I'll survive.
Well, you know, let's take a pee break, because I got to piss.
Pee break.
We're back on the pod from an extended break. It was good. We needed it, because John was falling asleep.
My glasses were working.
He's blaming it on the glasses. Wait, do you sleep with those fuckers?
On?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
God, no.
Well, I don't know. I was just asking. I don't know if there's any
What kind
literature.
of animal do you think I am?
Well, I don't know. My sister, when she was little, she said, she told my mom she's going to bed with her glasses on. And my mom said, why the fuck are you going to bed with your glasses on? Mm-hmm. She was like, so my dreams aren't blurry. That's gotta be the most insightful thing she's ever said.
That was a better joke than the first one.
Yeah, right? That was not even a joke. That was real life.
That's why.
Jesus. I thought the first one was fucking good, too. But yeah, but she said that. I thought that was the funniest thing. Still, it's one of those weird sister moments. It sticks with you forever.
Nice.
I mean, the logic's there. It's like
I hear you.
3 or 4 year old logic. I mean, the logic's totally there. Yeah, if I take my glasses off, I can't see a damn
I can't
thing.
see shit.
If I put them on, I can see.
I can see. I'm gonna dream.
But you know, at night, my dreams are always blurry.
But what if she's onto something? Like, her dreams are blurry because, like, she couldn't see.
We're getting into the metaphysics of it all.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, so, like, for a while, she just couldn't see. And, like, that's how her dreams were.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I would argue she can't see even more now.
Those are scary dreams.
It's got the horrifying dreams. But
Terrifier 4.
Terrifier 4. Holy fucking shit. I can't wait till that movie comes out. Inevitably, it's going to come out because this one was a box office hit.
And this one comes out blind.
What do you mean?
Blurry.
Oh, it's not in...
I don't know.
That would actually be interesting. What if you made a horror movie?
In Braille.
Oh, fuck. That's fucked up. No. But what if you had a horror movie? Well, so there was this horror movie that came out. God, it was on Netflix. But basically the premise was this lady's deaf. She cannot hear. So she's just can't hear. Well, I guess I'm just gonna live by myself in the woods, whatever, right? But that's her retreat, right? So she's in the woods, and someone's trying to kill her, and she has no idea they're in their house until obviously she sees them, right? But that'd be interesting to have have a movie, or at least one of the characters where you just see through their perspective, and maybe you can't even see, you just see shapes or something like that. Would be fucking terrifying. Terrifier 7. But interesting to see, the Terrifier 3 movie definitely left it open to where, obviously, they can go into the character lived. Spoiler alert, he survived. So Art the Clown, probably the best horror icon of the last decade. He's gonna be back. Terrifier 4. I called it here first. Actually, the production guys, they probably already working on a script.
Yeah, really.
So, but that's exciting. That is exciting. John, I think we're getting time.
Okay.
I think we're getting time, man.
What do you mean? What do I mean?
I mean, I want to kind of button off everything what we've talked about.
All right. Fire off.
Because I think we talked about some important stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to end on a note that is hopeful. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, man, but this world is pretty hopeless sometimes. And I want to be hopeful. How am I going to do that? That's the question.
I know. Do you want me to bust out a guitar for you?
I got to bust out a guitar. Did you ever learn how to play guitar, by the way?
No.
Your dad, he's pretty good. And he reads music. Your dad is a legend in his own right, man. He just sits there. He has his music stand, sheet music. He's playing guitar, and classical guitar. Sounds good. Your dad's really good. And I remember he's had that same guitar probably 30 years? Maybe less.
20 maybe, yeah.
Did he ever get a new one?
Yeah, he's got like 4.
Does he have 4? Really?
Yeah.
Did I ever show? He still haven't come over to my pad yet.
Shame on you.
If you ever want to come by, come on down. You can see the pad. I have my we have an office that's kind of set up. I have my drum set there. It's not so. I have a whole plan for my drum set. It's an acoustic drum set, but I'm gonna buy these. It's just expensive, right? So you gotta save up for it. I'm not trying to accumulate a bunch of credit card debt to save up for some drums. So basically, it's my acoustic kit.
Can't you buy them used?
Okay, but you can buy electronic drums, but I'm not trying to buy another drum set because I have my drum set. So let me tell you about my drum set. I don't think you knew about this. So I bought my drum set. It's a SJC custom kit. SJC custom. It's in there. Is in their name. Probably they make custom drums using the highest quality material. And so years ago, I had played in a band. It was a horror pop band called Nancy Nightmare and the Wizard. Shout out to them. They're on Instagram. Well, we kind of had a little bit of falling out, but we're cool now. Anyways, the whole premise of the band was we're kind of like a horror band. And so I remember I had found them on Instagram. I thought they were really good. It was just a singer and a guitar player. So my buddy who plays bass, and I played the drums. Not great, but I played the drums. I thought, hey, we can make this a good band. Like, let's try to take this, because I really thought that they had something special, and they still do. but their motivations and goals were different than I think what mine was. I wanted to play shows and take the band as far as we could go.
Right.
Whereas I think they were happy with the formula that they had.
Right.
Totally fine. But when I was in the band, I decided to buy a drum set. So I was searching the internet and I found this steampunk drum set. It was an SJC custom kit. It was a kick drum, a snare, and a floor tom. That was all it is. But every detail in there is custom. There's LED lights. Like, it is a badass kit. It has acrylic, expensive wood, very nice design. And the guy was selling it for $1,200 for the 3 pieces. I was, $1,200, 8 years ago it was quite a bit of money. Like, it's $1,200. I don't wince at that now. Just willy-nilly spent $1,200. But so I had really thought about it, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it. The kicker was I had to pick it up in San Clemente. So I drove.
Fun.
Yeah, I drove to San Clemente, picked up the drum kit, $1,200. That's all I paid for it.
You didn't haggle?
No, I was like,
Habibi.
I didn't have. Well, actually, I take that back. I did. I offered him $1,000, and he was like, no. And now I realized why. So, as I said, it was only 3 pieces. For me, I wanted a 4-piece. I wanted the rack tom. So I reached out to SJC Custom, and I said, hey, I have this kit, and they knew exactly the kit I was talking about. They even mentioned the guy by name in the email. And I was like, oh, shit. He was like, he got a very, very expensive kit. So that floor tom, the rack tom that I wanted to buy, it was a 10-inch. I was just wanting something small, so 10-inch rack tom. With his specifications and the build, $1,900 for the 10-inch tom. Holy fucking shit. I didn't even bother asking how much the rest of the thing costs, because it's like a long, skinny kick drum. The floor tom is 14 inches and the snare is 14 inches.
Why'd he sell it?
He no longer used it. He was a pro session drummer. And that was kind of a kit that he played with in a band and just didn't want it anymore, didn't have the space for it. So he sold it to me. Well, he's put it on a website, and I ended up buying it on the website. Still, fucking to this day, like, that's my drum set now. I'm going to have that for life. It's a lifetime drum set.
I understand.
So, but what I want to do with it, because, I don't play live anymore. I have these mesh heads on it, so you can just, you can bang on it without it being, totally annoying to your neighbors. And I have these quiet cymbals. So the goal is I'm going to replace the quiet cymbals with some rubber ones, and just convert that acoustic kit. So it's still the same kit, but it's going to have triggers on it, and then the triggers are going to connect to that interface, so it turns it into an electric kit. That's the goal. But, I don't want to buy something that I'm going to end up replacing. So I want to get a quality pieces, and some of the quality pieces are quality priced. I think the interface I was looking at was like almost $3,000. I'm like, fuck, I might as well just buy the rack tom.
Yeah.
So once I have that, so I have that drum set in there set up, and I bang on it every day. And I have my guitars. I have them mounted on the wall. So my acoustic guitar, I have 2 electric guitars, and my bass guitar, all mounted. I bought some stuff to do some maintenance on my bass, so I'll probably do that in the near future. And really, the whole intent and purpose, though, is eventually, I got rid of some stuff, and I want to get some new stuff that I can just do recording. Like, I don't need to mic the drum set. I just plug the interface in, and it's going to capture the drums. Plug the guitar and the bass directly into the interface, and then mess with the preamps and the different amps to get the tone I want, just all electronically. And so I don't have to actually physically buy, a $2,000, $3,000 amp Really, because of space. I think if I had the space, like a lot more space, because, you know, when you're married, got to be compromising on space on certain items. So, yeah, so I really can't buy an amp, like big ass fucking amp or something really fancy. It's just be too fucking loud or, you know, just in the way. So, trying to make it as small as possible, but to still have a good quality sound. That's the goal, anyways. Yeah. So, yeah, dude. All that to say is you got to come over to my pad, man.
Invite me, motherfucker. Let's go. Let's do barbecue or something.
Well, I don't have a barbecue, but I can cook in the kitchen.
Why no barbecue?
I don't know. That's a good question. Well, in the back patio, there's no like outlet, so there's I guess some regulations within the HOA.
Could we go in the front of the house? Well, start a fire with a grill?
You know what I'm saying, though.
There's an HOA?
It's a HOA, and they regulate certain things. Fucking motherfuckers.
So what, is there like a sectioned off grill area?
There's no. You can have a grill, but it has to be electric.
Oh.
So a Traeger would technically qualify as an electric, so I get a smoker, get a grill out of that, because you plug it in, but I don't have an outlet in the back. So if I were to use something like a Traeger, I'd have to plug it in on the inside, and then use it on the outside. So I think that's eventually what I'm going to do, but I just, you know, we've bought other stuff that had taken precedence over that. So eventually that's going to come down the line, a Traeger or something. I don't know. I'm seeing the Blackstones. Those are pretty cool. Get like a big griddle or something. Make some steaks. I've been making a lot of steaks too, man. Like a pan seared and pan fried and all that. Butter basting or reverse sear or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fun. You experiment a lot, but it'd be nice to have the fucking grill.
Right.
I would really enjoy that.
No.
It all just takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of money. That's the thing.
Right.
I have the thought. Just don't want to spend the money because I'm a cheap bastard too. On that note, John, I think I'm gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
Can you guess the reference?
Okra.
Me not that kind of orc. Smoggle. It's Warcraft for the viewers. We be jamming.
Oh
Got
boy.
the trolls and shit. All right, man. On that
famous
note,
hunter.
Famous hunter. Yours was a. You know what my character in World of Warcraft was? His name Wanta.
Right.
Jua. So Juan, and then Ta. You know, to make it a troll. Troll speak. Do you remember your character's name?
I do, and I know you do.
Singar.
It's a good name.
It's a great name. Kind of has a multiple meaning. Singar, I thought, was a very appropriate orc name, considering they say stuff like Loktar Ogar. But yeah, Singar was great. I'll let you guys Google that, especially for you you guys at home on your computers, your home computers. All you got to do,
or your work computers,
especially your work computers.
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Well, it might, you know, whatever.
It may or may not work.
You know, work computers are very strict. So just do your home computer, especially if your wife or your husband, you know, whatever computer that they use as well, on their browser, just put Singar and put like Google Images or something. I think it'd be all right. It's not necessarily Warcraft related. It could be, depending on the circumstances, but. Yeah. On that note, John, I just want to button some things and re-emphasize some points. Look, everything that we read today, even though they say it in different ways, it's all about how you respond to failure, right? And I think anyone who is experiencing rejection or failure in their lives, just take it for what it is and learn from it, and really use that as your launch pad to get to really where you really want to be, right? Embrace the suck, embrace the shitty feelings, embrace it all, because that's going to make you mentally stronger for the challenge that awaits you, for what you're really meant to do, for what you really want to do. Because how are you ever going to be ready for the Super Bowl if you never practice, right? Or if you never play a game? So play the game, develop your curiosity, find your passions, work at those things, right? And from there, you're going to do great things if you choose to, right? That's another component. If you let these rejections and you let these failures become your defining characteristic, you're never going to go anywhere.
Right.
So don't let those failures define you. Don't use those failures. Those failures aren't your enemies. Those are failures are your friends, because that's where you learn the most, in those dark moments, right? So, on that note, another great pod. Thank you. 30 subscribers. That's huge. And I'm not saying that facetiously. 30 subscribers. Thank you to everyone. I can say for John and I, thank you for subscribing and watching our videos. You know, if there are people who are just tuning in and they don't subscribe, all good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I think more than you'll ever know. You know, one of our videos, I think really took off, and at least for us, and it was not so much that the view count mattered. I just think the message that we're trying to put out there is an apolitical message about just trying to be a better human, trying to be a better person, and really reaching our goals. And how do we get there? That's the point of this podcast, and that's a lot of the point of this conversation. We have a lot of fun doing it. I assume.
We have fun.
We have a lot of fun doing this and getting together. So thank you again to those 30 subscribers. And again, not facetiously, you guys are awesome. Thank you for your time. This is the Below the Trees podcast. We shall not be moved.
Bryan believes in the gay disco in Berlin.
Willkommen in a disco. Ja. This is Mouth Disco by Bryan.
Giorgio Bryan.
Oh man. There's reason 199 ever canceled. I don't know what that last part was. I think I know where I'm going now. All right. Do or do not. There is no try. All right. All right, here we go. And action. Welcome to the Below the Trees podcast, where we struggle to do this every single week. Okay, straight face. Welcome to the Below the Trees podcast. We got a great episode for you. Let me ask you this. Are you where you want to be in your life? And be honest with yourself. Are you really where you want to be in your work, in your relationships, in your personal life? And if the answer is no, it's okay. We're going to get into these questions. How to deal with rejection, whether it's at work, how to deal with rejection, whether it's in your personal life. Embrace the suck and join us. And that's how we're going to get to the next level. That's what we got to do it all over again. We're fucked up. I know where it's going. Hello, welcome to the Below the Trees podcast. We got a great episode for you.
God damn it, I got a bullhammer over here. Got a motherfucking rent and all that. Fucking talking.
And action. Hello, welcome to the Below the Trees podcast. We got a great episode for you. Let me ask you this. Are you where you want to be right now? Whether it's in your work, whether it's your personal life, anything. Are you where you want to be? And if the answer is no, it's okay. It's okay to embrace that rejection. It's okay to embrace the suck. But we're going to talk today about what to do when you are rejected and how to get to that next level. So, thank you. Do all the normal YouTube things. We thank our 30 subscribers for being here today. You guys are awesome. We'll see you on the other side. This is Below the Trees podcast. One last one to give us some options. All right. Hello, welcome to Below the Trees podcast. All right, I got it. Hello, welcome to Below the Trees podcast. We got a great episode. Let me ask you this. Are you where you want to be right now? And if the answer is no, that's okay. Are you where you want to be in your work life, your personal life, wherever it is? And if the answer is no, let me repeat that. It is okay. We're going to talk about what to do when you get rejected in your work environment and how to respond to that, the mindset that you need to have to get to the next level. So join us for the next couple hours. Thank you for indulging us with your time. Do all the normal YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the other side. This is the Below the Trees podcast. Not bad.
That was it?
One more.
You think that was it? No. Like, you think that was the right one? You don't have to do it again.
That one felt good. I felt good about that.
You good with that one too?
Yeah, I like that.
You don't have to torture yourself for another 5 minutes.
It's hard doing these intros. Or John can do intros.
Huh?
John, you start doing intros.
You try doing the intros? Try doing intros in a second.
You're the stoic